Of course, we have the Honourable Ian Gooding-Edgell, who's the Minister of Tourism and International Transport. We have to his right, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport, Ms. Francie Blackman. Online, we have joined us the Chairman of the Board of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. and Barbados Tourism Product Authority, Michelle Williams. We also have joined from the ministry agencies, we have the CEO of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., Dr. Aaron Stringhart. We also have the CEO of the Barbados Port, David John Marie. We have the CEO of the Grantley Islands International Airport, Mr. Paul Bourne. We also have the acting CEO of Caribbean Aircraft Planning, Mr. Daniel Paddy. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm going to hand over to the Minister for her to go through, and then we'll have a short Q&A afterwards. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Thomas. Good afternoon, members of the media. Happy New Year to you as well, those who have not seen. First of all, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the ministry, and on behalf of my ministry, the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport, and its team, to what I intend to be the first of regular updates that I intend to provide on the operations of the ministry. As you know, it was my policy in previous ministries in Transport Works and Resources, as well as the Ministry of Health, to provide regular updates, and we're doing so today. As you all know, I will assume office in October 26, and a lot has happened, and obviously coming through post-pandemic, we are trying to recover. So I now turn my attention to the current status of the national tourism sector. From all data and information, I'm happy to say that we are experiencing an upward trend in the momentum for this winter season. This is demonstrated by my personal interaction with several tourism partners in retail, accommodation, wholesale, suppliers, attractions, transportation, water sports operators, both land and sea operators, I should mention. Just to highlight a few of those. We are into our first winter season in the post-pandemic era, where all travel protocols have now been removed. I am pleased to report that we have monitored our performance in the first instance by comparing this winter's visitor arrivals to pre-pandemic years. I must also caution that this is not about beating our chest, because we are fully much still in the recovery mode. But what we want to do is to update you and give you a sense of where we are trending and how we intend to that journey of improving what we have to offer in Barbados, and also marketing strategies in order to improve our arrival numbers and the shared experience when visitors come to Barbados. So on December the 29th, the Grantley Islands International Airport was perhaps recorded its highest number of arrivals in one day, following from over 15 flights out of the UK, Canada, the United States, Europe, and the Caribbean since 2019. In fact, we had at the airport over 3,000 arrivals, and the air-to-sea transfers representing some 7,000. Consistent with my team approach, I would ask perhaps the Chief Executive Officer of the Grantley Islands International Airport, Mr. Hadley Bourne, who is here, who perhaps can share some light on that. And thereafter, I will ask Mr. Lemuel Padmore, who is CEO of the Caribbean Aircraft Handling Company that moves all the bags, to have a quick few words. So I'll hand over to them, and then I'll come back to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pull the mic closer, please. Pull the mic closer, please.
Pull the actual.
Okay, you can pull that one closer, thanks. That's great.
Hi, good afternoon, Minister. Thanks for the introduction, colleagues. As the Minister alluded, the 29th saw us return to a level of activity at the airport which would have been consistent to pre-pandemic numbers, and the volume of traffic we saw was quite, I would say, really optimistic, but we were quite happy to see that level of traffic and the activity that transpired. The movement through the airport and the various experience. Some person would have had challenges with the bike delivery in recent times, but we would have done a lot of changes and work on a lot of processes and procedures to improve that over the winter period. And I'm not sure then really want to add anything.
Thank you. Minister, colleagues, press, as Hadi indicated, we would have had movement of over 10,000, somewhere in the region of 12,000 bags to offload within the required time limits. In addition to cargo and possibly mail as well. And the strategies that the airport has put in place, working with the stakeholders to ensure that we can get those bags off quickly and in a reasonable time that would satisfy the needs of our customers. So we are on the right track, and we know that with continued collaboration and working together, as we continue this process, it will continue to enhance the experience of those passengers arriving at Barbados. Thank you.
Baggage jumpers. Baggages.
Yes, the bags, yeah, we moved about 10,000 bags, but I must say, in that mix, we have equipment, high loaders, we have manual lifting. And yes, from time to time, there are some challenges with equipment, but we are working assiduously to ensure that the equipment is functional and that we can deliver the needs of our customers and the guests, and ensure the guest experience is one of par excellence at the airport. Thank you.
Thank you. And also what Mr. Badmore perhaps I want to tell you, that him and his board spearheaded initiatives to realize and increase in the efficiency of the bags being moved from the aircraft into the airport, so that there are no longer any long delays in waiting for bags. Of course, occasionally you will have, an exception to that. But I must say, based on all feedback that from our customers who are arriving, they're telling us that they have seen an increase in the experience in terms of the no need for any further delays of baggage coming from the aircraft into the arrivals hall. Just to share a perspective with you on the arrivals, and I will highlight, for example, the UK, because as you know, the UK is one of our top source markets, and therefore to illustrate the UK will be a good benchmark. And again, I must caution you that we are getting there. We're doing well, but we are getting back to where we want to get, but we will have to do so over time. But I'll give you some perspectives to give you an overview of what's happening. In December, and I'll have these arrivals out of the UK. So UK arrivals for December. In December of 2018, we would have recorded 26,265 visitors from the UK. In December of 2019, we would have recorded 24,994. In December, of course, between 2020 and 2021, the pandemic years, those would have been discounted, as you would appreciate. Aircraft weren't flying, and therefore we had to condense operations to suit. But in December of 2022, just turned the corner December last year, 26,080 arrivals came from the United Kingdom. So based on the December 2022 arrivals, it is clear that arrivals from that market for the month of December exceeded 2019, and we're almost equal to 2018. So once we get back to that 2018 level, of course that will start to show you that we are getting there and recovering well. Like I said, we're doing well. We want to do better. This is not about telling you that we are doing exceptionally well, but we are in the period of recovery. And we must take into consideration, and the Prime Minister often says it, that Barbados pays a price for having a strong public health sector. And the reason I say that, as you will recall, we waited for some time to ensure that we removed the protocols, and that was late in coming, where some of our other Caribbean neighbors would have relaxed those. Notwithstanding that, what I can tell you is that the market stayed with us, the airlines stayed with us, they protected airlift into Barbados, and they also expanded airlift into Barbados because we have bigger aircraft coming, the 777-300 with additional 46 seats coming into Barbados compared to others in the region. So we are pacing and pacing well, but we are going to get there. Now, the other thing is that we didn't do it in isolation, and rather it's indicative of the wider, steady upward trend of growth and recovery for Barbados as a destination. Obviously, naturally, some markets are recovering at a faster rate than others, but that has to do with the environment that they're operating in. But we are confident that we will see other markets returning. If you look, for example, at the last quarter, that is October, November, December of calendar year 2022, compared to 2019, the United Kingdom is now at a 94% recovery rate. If you look at the same period, Canada is currently at 80%. And of course, you will know in Canada, because of their COVID restrictions and the aircraft coming into Barbados, that would have been a major factor affecting the recovery of Barbados from the Barbados major source market as a result of those impositions of protocols here. And United States, we are at 70% pre-pandemic levels. In the Caribbean, despite the LEA disruption, and the Caribbean obviously is a very important market to us, is showing pleasing signs of recovery, and we are recovering at a rate of 60% to the pre-pandemic levels. I say all of this to say that Airlift has to be a major component and a major strategy going forward. And on the general question of Airlift, my ministry is pursuing a potentially lucrative air services agreements with several countries. And what I will do, I will now call on my permanent secretary, Mrs. Francine Blackman, who has been traveling with me to some of these destinations to help us build up air services agreements. And she will explain to you why we are traveling and building out these air services agreements, and obviously the importance to Barbados. Yes?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister. Minister is correct. The strategy we recognize in the ministry has to be twofold. Because while we work on tourism, it is necessary for us to also work on our aviation side of the business, because aviation informs tourism and vice versa. We have signed a number of air services agreements, also looking ahead to make sure then that we provide Barbados with the best opportunity that we can get additional airlines coming. And this, it is also based on the fact that the ministry recently was able to have legislation go through Parliament, for us to build out the Civil Aviation Authority. That now becomes the bedrock for us to advance our aviation strategy and therefore give life to these air services agreement. Before, we had the Civil Aviation Department, and the legislation around that entity was not sufficiently forward and innovative to be able to address the needs of what is happening internationally, as well as to keep the ministry and the government of Barbados, the country, in alignment with the ICAO, which is that international agency, rules and guidelines and so on. So that piece of legislation now gives us the opportunity for us to not only have our legacy airlines, which have been American Airlines, British Airways, and Virgin for that matter. We are now in a position to operationalize a number of air services agreement that allows us now to have other aircraft from other countries coming to Barbados. One of the recent, or some of the recent air services agreement that we signed last year, we did with the government of Qatar. We initialed that at the ICAO Assembly in Canada, and we also upgraded the service, that air services agreement with the government of the United Arab Emirates. We also recently, just last year, sign an air services agreement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And these are to help us now go into other emerging markets, which is part of Earth Tourism's thrust. But it had to be predicated on having these agreements in place first, which then will now give life to the marketing efforts of the BTMI to be able to go into new source markets to give us new arrivals. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. Moving on now to the cruise sector, and this is what I call the all-important cruise sector. There. Okay, so turning my attention to the all-important cruise sector, there has been some encouraging improvements in the post-pandemic operations. Again, we are still in recovery there, but I will share some statistics with you for December. In December of 2018, we had 43 ships, 78 calls, and 29,138 passengers would have disembarked. December of 2019, we had 40 ships, 78 calls, with a total of 29,435 passengers disembarking. Of course, in December 20, we didn't have any ships, and obviously in December of 2021, we had 35 ships, 70 calls, 16,452 passengers who have disembarked. In December of 2020, just last month, we had 41 ships, 70 calls, December 2022. Thank you. December 2022, 41 ships, 70 calls, 29,552 passengers would have disembarked. So in keeping with our recovery strategy and shown by the statistics that I just mentioned, December of 2022 exceeded December of 2018, exceeded December of 2019 for the number of disembarking passengers. So this season, and seasons obviously for the cruise, we expect to have 15 inaugural vessels, including the P&O's newest and largest ship. This vessel is one of 21 vessels home porting in Barbados, with a total home porting calls of some 183. We anticipate that arrivals should be in the vicinity of 698,512. And when we compare those numbers to what we would have accomplished in 2019, we would have seen a 10% increase. So in 2019, we had 637,212 arrivals. So we are trending in the right direction. Again, it's still recovery, but I will ask the Chief Executive Officer of the British Port Inc., Mr. John Murray, to add any additional comments in respect of where we're going in direction and matters related to port. Mr. John Murray.
Thank you, Minister. So there are a number of positive developments at the port. The Minister mentioned cruise. He mentioned the 10% increase in this year, 2022-23 winter, compared to the 2018 year. What we are seeing is an increase in our home porting business. 50% of the vessels coming here, calls will be home porting. And even though, the Minister mentioned that we're in recovery mode, even though we were 100% occupancy in 2018, we are only still at 82% currently. But we are seeing larger vessels come to Barbados, hence the reason why we are having greater number of arrivals this winter compared to 2018 year. There are other projects on the cargo side that we can speak to a bit later. I think the focus right now is on tourism. Minister, or you want to go to the other areas? At the port, on the cargo side, which is very important to this country also, we are seeing increased numbers of containers arriving at the port. The largest number before of TEUs arriving through processing through the Port of Bridgetown was 105,000. We are anticipating that for this financial year, we could reach as high as 120,000 TEUs. We see this as a lead indicator of economic activity in the country. So that's the cargo side and the cruise side. The port is also building out its master plan, and there are a number of projects that are being implemented as we speak. Some are in the planning stages. I can go through a few of them. You would probably travel on the Mighty Granite Highway and see the Shell Draft development taking place there. That's about 60% completed, and it's about a $40 billion project, which will see a significant increase in the number of facilities for yachts. You'll have some restaurants there, some storage units, a fuel dock rather than persons with yachts traveling with bottles of gas. They will be able to fuel at that dock. We'll have a fish market, fish and farmers market there also, as a significant development that should be completed by February 2024. With respect to there's an aggregate berth that we're trying to build out also. We will be building out. You may be aware that sand reserves have been depleted in the country, and lots of sand is being imported. If you travel along the highway regularly, you'll see moles of sand over there. So we need to build out the facilities to accommodate aggregate and sand and such being imported into the country. That project is going through the planning phases now. We're hoping that by the end of March, we will submit the social impact assessment, have a stakeholders meeting, and we are looking at a model, a PPP model involving the private sector and the government to build out that facility so that we're able to receive aggregate and sand and soil through the facility. You are aware that we've completed Pile Bay as well as the Spicestone Jetty. We have received planning permission to refurbish the Western Fish Market, and that work will be commencing mid-February, Minister. We will first of all have a public consultation so that all the players in the area, the community will be aware, and we're going to build a modern facility at Western, similar to what we did at Pile Bay. Within the port, there's the port fire station needed at this end of Bridgetown. So that's about, that'll be done about, finished by about March, as well as the new signal station. We are also in the earliest phases of building out a planning for a boat hollow and repair facility. We are working with the developer, our partner, to get to the point of planning so that we can build out that facility, which would enable persons who own yachts here to have them dry dock and repaired here rather than go elsewhere and use valuable foreign exchange. It will also attract new business to Barbados. Those are a few of the projects that we're working on. We're even working also on the lighthouses. And we have awarded a concession for a developer to develop a restaurant and tourism and heritage facilities at the East Point Lighthouse. Those will be rolled out shortly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Drumery. The other issues that we're pursuing, the other initiatives that we're pursuing, pursuant to our development plan for tourism, is to have aggressive marketing strategies in the marketplace. And I must tell you that the management, along with the chair who's leading a lot of the initiatives with the team, they continue to be on the road, aggressively getting additional and sourcing new business for Barbados. And consistent with our airlift and cruise business strategy, we are going to take a more aggressive approach to increase the dominance of Barbados's brand in our top source markets. We are also going to be executing an agenda for initiatives in new and emerging markets, and that is on track. Those are absolutely necessary so that while we have our existing core markets that have served us well over the years, there's also a requirement for us to continually build out our base. and therefore consistent with any strategy to expand our tourism base, we have to seek new and emerging markets. Those are very strategically positioned, and you will hear more of the work involving the strategic initiatives that we have undertaken within the ministry and the BTMI in order to continue to build on our rivals, build on airlift capacity, and also further develop the cruise sector. As we know, winter 2022-2023 is already underway, and we have already focused on an enhanced summer 2023 and winter 2024 campaign. But if we look to the summer, we have a number of new and exciting programs that we have already planted in the marketplace through the interaction of our external sales team and market leaders. They are out and about. One thing that we took away from World Travel Market when we were there last November is the fact that people like now to see and listen to the person in the name of a travel agent and or tour operator. And that's because of obviously post-pandemic reasons. But we have our teams on the ground in the markets. They're pushing, they have targets, and they have to maintain and achieve those targets, aggressive as they are. I won't go into details about the targets because that would be unfair to them. But what I can tell you is what we are beginning to see in terms of the response from the markets. The new strategic and tactical initiatives that the BTMA team, as they continue to deal with the markets, get the relevant intelligence, and apply offers that are necessary, I think it's going to lead us and guide us in a better direction so we can continue to build. We have to recover. It will take some time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it will happen overnight, but I'm confident with the steps being taken by the BTMI in order to continue to enhance the recovery. There are also a number of strategies that the team that were already undertaken in the marketplace, and they will continue to do so. I will give the opportunity to the chairman who's joining us online. She can't be here with us because, again, she's busy on the market doing what she has to do for us as a country, and also to the Chief Executive Officer of the BTMI in Strainhard to give you a synopsis and an overview of some of the initiatives that we'll be putting into the marketplace. So, Chair, to you and to, yes, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Well, we are the board is very interested in summer. We've started our summer programs a lot earlier than we did in the past. We're looking at things, we've spoken to our team to allow them to look at things to drive summer business. Now we know traditionally Barbados was not seen as a summer destination, and we get a lot of business in the winter. So we started to look as early as last year, during early part of October, November, to see how we can treat to summer and how we can do it a lot differently than we did before. So driving business is our number one thing. And how are we going to drive business to Barbados? Through MICE Market. You're going to see us as early as next week announce a big conference that will be held in Barbados to kick off the summer season. We're going to have tourism conferences, fintech conferences, medical conferences, encouraging the MICE market to grow. We're starting very early with our crop over and music festivals. We are also investing in more sporting tourism events. You will see we'll have cricket, motorsports, sailing, and even international events like Ninja Throwdown, where you'll see a lot of people have watched American Ninja Throwdown, and you're going to see some of those contestants even coming to Barbados to participate, and that will be much bigger than it was last year. It was a success last year. It's going to be even bigger this year. You're going to see things like international surfing tournaments. But let me speak on a little bit of airlift. And this has been a concern for most persons. And what we have done is dedicated a team that is working very, very hard on pushing airlift. And in the next couple of weeks, we might very well, you will be seeing us making an announcement where we may be expanding or looking to expand a new US gateway coming for summer and coming in summer. And that has not been done in many, many years. So you can look forward to hearing about that. We've also been working with our existing regional partners, helping them to ramp up from services of one service provider, airline provider, is now coming 3 times a week to Barbados. They are now planning to implement by summer a daily service to Barbados. So we're working very hard to ramp up our airlift because you have to get to the destination. So once you can get to the destination, then once they're there, we are going to work. And later on, I'm sure our director of product will speak to some of the initiatives we're also doing when it comes to our attractions and things and our product on the ground. So from the board level, we have really been working with management to see and giving them the tools they need to allow them to ramp up in the summer and aggressively market the summer. And I'm going to pass on to our CEO, who can get into further detail. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think our strategy is clear to protect and grow Airlift, as the Minister said and as the Chair explained. And really to drive that growth, what we need to do is to create sustainable airlift. And we do that by really driving consumer demand. And I think what is so exciting about this is that the Minister has a long-term view in terms of how we're looking to build this marketing strategy. And it's really to differentiate Barbados from just a beach destination alone to more than beaches. And this is really anchored in evidence-based research. People are looking for local experiences, they're looking for sustainability, and really leveraging, as the Chair said, festivals and events, if it is conferences, but it's also our Crop Over Festival, Run Barbados, the Food and Rum Festival, which will be coming back, but also tapping into niches from wellness to heritage and culture, adventure, to really make sure that people get inspired to be here and experience the destination, connect with communities. We're looking to curate these local experiences that really gets people out there and have experiences that they may not be able to potentially have in other destinations. That also makes sure that our experiences drive inclusivity, and that generates benefits for all Barbadians. And I think that's so exciting about that, and that drives sustainability. People are now looking for sustainable experiences. We have been featured by a new sustainable travel documentary as only one of 10 destinations. We're the only Caribbean destination that is part of the top 100 green destinations competition that is now shortlisted for ITB Berlin. And then what we need to do is really telling these stories via PR, communication, social media, so that we can inspire the world to come here, and that drives consumer demand, which goes right back to drives and secures that airlift that makes this destination resilient. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think perhaps the chairman and the CEO would not want to tell you, but the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. also won some awards. I'm not sure if they're so modest that they don't want to say. But let me say on their behalf and to thank all the members of staff working at the BTMI, both on island headquarters and in all of our overseas markets. Because last year, the BTMI would have been awarded the Best Tourist Board at Travel Weekly's 2022 Globe Travel Awards, and this comes after winning several awards in 2021. So let me thank the chair or board Jens, to your management team, and all of the members of staff working here at the BTMI headquarters, and also abroad, for helping us to have eclipse all of our other competitors, including some within the region, and for bringing to Barbados another outstanding award. So I thank you and your team. Thank you, Chair. I also believe it's necessary that we advise you that part of the work of the BTMI, as the Chair and the CEO indicated, that we are planning and we are moving ahead with winter plans. So we have the summer program, as you heard from them. We're also building out now winter 23-2024, and a lot of work has been done in that respect. I am pleased as Minister with the progress, and I think my Permanent Secretary will concur with me as well, because we reviewed the plans just to see the direction that we're going in. So we believe that we will have a more proactive approach in terms of us getting into the market space earlier than others and start planning out ahead. On that score, and again, what the chairman of the BTMI and the chief executive officer didn't want to tell you, so PSI will have to tell them, I will tell the country on their behalf. Again, the phenomenal work involved in the recovery. As you know, summer business is always a challenging one for Barbados as a destination. One, because we have the reposition of cruise ships elsewhere, particularly to the Mediterranean, and then there are other destinations. On top of that, we also have the fact that in certain major markets, people like to stay home. Some people like to go to other markets closer to home, and that's like, for example, the UK, and then particularly in the United States, sometimes people go family and go closer. But what we're trying to do is to recapture some of the market, and I'm pleased to share with you that I did ask for the summer bookings for 2023. And when I look at the summer bookings, we are 98% ahead of where we were in 2019. In other words, in 2019, the summer bookings would have been 87,530. And bookings for 2023 thus far, we have on books 85,532. So we're not quite there, 100%, but we're 98% of the way. And when we compare now to, when we compare our bookings to that summer 2023 to summer of 2022, what we're seeing is that we're 34% ahead. Now, the important thing for us as always, the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. is responsible for marketing Barbados as a destination, right? We market the Barbados brand as a destination. Now, what is going to be very important for us, and we're putting some systems in place, and we're working with our partners and stakeholders within the hospitality and accommodation sectors to ensure that they share information with us. So that if we have information, for example, regarding occupancies from the hotels and other accommodation segments, what we'll be able to do is to say, okay, if on the books at this particular period of time we were X, and now at this junction we are Y, we will then know what tactical decisions are required and necessary in order to get additional arrivals to Barbados. And that's part of the business. I mean, I myself grew up in this business. It's the only sector that I've come to know. And I can also tell you, as a former executive working with a chain of hotels, that is what you have to do. You look at your position, you look at your books, you see where you're weak or where you're strong, and then you make tactical decisions, notwithstanding that you would have had a marketing plan. And that is how we have to do. But what I will try to do as we have these regular updates is to continue to share these perspectives with you as media, so that you can share them with the public, because it's important that you understand it. You probably understand it better than I do, but you understand it, and that you also help us to get the message out into the community. Now, one other thing that I can share with you is that the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. Will be, after consultation with stakeholders and others within the industry, we recognize that we have to have a longer term development plan, and therefore we are going to be having that 5-year marketing plan for Barbados. We've settled on it because we need a longer marketing plan, as I told you, and in developing this 5-year marketing plan, it will include very strongly Barbados's destination brand recognition, and that is critical. We're going to have to talk about sustainability, because that is where globally tourism is trending now to more sustainability. We're going to incorporate long talked about concepts of community tourism, but twinning it with sustainability and how we sustain communities, because market research indicate that what is happening there is that people like to travel to a destination where there's a connection more so with sustainability. So that is what we are going to be focusing on. And in addition to that, they are planning out events over a 5-year period, which would then help us drive additional advanced bookings to Barbados, working with our partners, especially for Airlift, where they need initiatives to see what is behind the gateways in order to continue to promote Barbados. And the faster we can get those seats sold and working with them, the better for us as a destination, so we get in early. We also have other events, like I said, that we will focus on. But the critical thing about having a 5-year plan is because we must always remember that come 2028, so the 5-year plan is going to be timely. We're going to celebrate 400 years of the founding of Bridgetown in 2028. And for us, within the BTMI, we have a small committee, working obviously with other agencies as they celebrate, but we want to put that out there because that is an area where we can tap into the diaspora and other visitors who we believe we can bring to Barbados. So we will have there's going to be a Barbados subcommittee of the BTMI marketing committee, and they will do all the necessary planning and promote that quickly because we need to get that in the market space. So these are some of the programs that we're going to be doing. Obviously, the marketing program will also look to new and emerging markets and how best we can tactically put our resources in those markets to get additional leads. And we are working, as the PS indicated, on some other initiatives. The chairman also indicated to you that we have additional initiatives that we'll be announcing as early as next week and the following week. I'm saying all this to say that we are on the path to recovery. We will get there. We will get there strategically with some tactical interventions. And therefore, I want to thank you very much for joining this afternoon. As indicated by Director April, we'll take a few questions. But I believe I've given you so much information that you would wish to get back to your respective offices to write your stories. But we're open for questions. And thank you very much for coming.
Just one question. I know that you noted that the tourism sector on the island is in recovery mode. When you look around the Caribbean, some of the other islands, Grenada, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, are you satisfied that we are on par in terms of how they are developing their tourism sector?
I am more than satisfied that we're on par. I've been hearing this view being proposed out there that that the others are moving ahead of us. Now, I don't want to be uncharitable, but truth be told, if you go and you examine Barbados's airlift numbers, you look at our capacity, you look at the number of aircraft that land at Grant Williams International Airport in one day, right? Some of our partners, that's what they get in a week. And I'm not putting down anybody competitively, but I give you the opportunity to go and do the research, what I promise you, on the next occasion, I will have those statistics, because we have what we call 4 keys that we can tap into, and we can show you how many flights arrive in any destination that you would wish to ask me about within the region, and I can tell you. Now, also internally, what you might not know is that we also monitor arrivals from other jurisdictions. We have CTO stacks that we get, the Caribbean Tourism Organization stacks, and we see where we stack up. Now, some with respect to aircraft, there are other changes. But I started by telling you that the one thing we did, and we did well, when we had the pandemic, and that was before me, and I thank my predecessor ministers for that, they protected airlift into Barbados. And as a result of that protection, we're now poised to recover. So I'm not going to get in that debate about what I will do, because you might say I'm just talking. I will give you the information as soon as we pull it down from 4 keys to prove to you that when compared to some of the competitors, we are very well advanced, put it that way.
Minister, I'm not sure if my question should be directed to you or to Mr. John Marie, but we had heard that some cruise ships were expressing a preference for birthing in Speightstown. Can we get some update on what plans there are to develop that? And the other thing is that I heard the christening of the Arvia is supposed to take place in that area, is it next week?
Well, I can't comment to that. I would suggest that an official announcement when it comes out be channeled through the media houses, but I would prefer that is...
That's on the Arvia.
No, I would, well, yes, I would prefer that the appropriate announcement come from those who are involved in that. I can't speak to that, okay? But yes, before I ask Mr. Jormy to speak, yes, there's an interest. As you know, we have the Irvima, I think it's the Arvias, not Arvia, no. The luxury yacht collection. So the, sorry? The Ritz-Carlton has a luxury yacht. Right, right. Everywhere, right. So the Ritz-Carlton has a luxury yacht collection, and they're building out. And we were, again, very fortunate that it was the first, Barbados was the first port of call for the Irving. So they came across Europe, the Atlantic, and came into Barbados. They're also going to be porting at some point in time. Yes. But beyond that, yes, there's some, we, based on our trip when we were last November, when we were meeting the executives of all the major cruise lines in the that service Barbados in Miami, they indicated to us, yes, that will be an option, but it will be for smaller ones. But that speaks more broadly into strategy. Perhaps you've heard about it, that we're developing for cruise. And the strategy is that we want, during the summer period, to have smaller luxury ships and yachts too, and Chairman can speak to this, coming into Barbados. But expressions of interest, yes, were forwarded to us, and we are working on those now. However, and that's why Mr. John Mary will speak to it. We have, obviously, with respect to where you anchor, how you anchor, those are technical issues because we have to ensure that we don't have any damage to the coral reef. I'll let the Mr. John Mary speak, and then I'll bring in the chair. You speak, John Mary, and I'll bring in the chair.
All right, so yes, the short answer is yes, we've had interest in the smaller cruise lines wishing to berth. We dock in Speightstown. The way we see it working, you would clear in Bridgetown and then come to Speightstown at a particular point. We have created some anchor points in Speightstown. We have created some points in Speightstown, specifically identified by the Coastal Zone Management Unit, so we will not harm any our coral and so on out there. And where there's that interest, we will ensure that we dock the vessels over there, the smaller cruise ships.
Okay.
That's in the plan. So we started by, of course, refurbishing the jetty. That's done. All the security and whatnot. So we have the hardware to be able to accommodate those smaller cruise ships to the north. We also have some anchorages just off the western area for super yachts also. That's an area that we're looking to develop further. The chairman will speak to that a bit more.
Thank you, David. Absolutely, we're looking at growing our super yachts. I think as early as the ending of this month, the CEO of the port is going to be anchoring a meeting with coastal and tourism and some of the stakeholders that manage these super yachts locally to see how we can capitalize on this. St. Bart's is smaller than Barbados, and alone for the Christmas season saw to about 143 super yachts within. And if we can get 50% of that, that will help grow another industry and also bring some more business to the island. I know Marcia, who is our director of product. Before we can even look at Speightstown, we have to speak to the people. So Marcia's from her team will be speaking to the stakeholders and seeing how we can develop or even help and develop the Speightstown area for business and tourism opportunity for the persons in St. Peter. So, and other stakeholders that exist in there. So it is a work in progress, but it is going to be, this is where we're moving and the direction we're moving, but we are going to be talking to the stakeholders. We are going to be talking to the people within the community before we do anything. So at this point, it is important to grow that mega yacht. We do have super yachts that exist here and come to Barbados and have been for many years, but we see that as another opportunity of growth for tourism. So yes, it's a work in progress.
My other question was about summer business. Can you elaborate on some of the programs that you are putting in place to bring summer business? Because I know that was a big concern in the industry, summer 23, summer 22.
Sure.
Well, summer 22, we were still in, sorry, is that me that you were asking the question to? I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead, Chair.
Sorry, Minister, I didn't hear.
All yours, Chair. I'm giving you liberty to speak candidly.
Oh no, it should be our CEO. But what I can say is summer 2022, we were still very much into COVID. In COVID, we were now coming out. We still have the mask mandate, but we were now opening up more. You're going to see it. We had a scaled down version of Prop Over. That's not going to be the case this year. We're very much going to have a much scale up Prop Over. But before we even get into a July, August, we're treating to summer as early as May. So as I said, you're going to see that we're anchoring a very large conference that can be seen about 1,000 to 1,200 persons traveling to Barbados and coming to Barbados for this conference. And we are going to continue along those lines, pushing, driving business to Barbados through conferences, as I said, and those kind, and partnering with our local partners, our local stakeholders that want to champion things of this nature that we think can drive business to Barbados. So it's about making those, partnering with the stakeholders to drive that business as early as May, right down into October.
So you're effectively saying that in the summer, you're targeting the meetings and incentives market?
Absolutely, meetings and incentives market, sporting events, like you will see cricket, you will see surfing, you will see, as I said, new things like Ninja Throwdown, you will see car racing. So a lot of things we are partnering with our stakeholders on, but to drive the business to Barbados and drive media also driving that coverage. But we're still balancing that with talking to our, we have to defend our airlift. So defending our airlift is making sure people are still coming to the island so that the airlift is not deployed elsewhere. So we have to keep busy, and that is what we're working on, and that is our strategy. Keeping that airlift there and defending it and growing it at the same time, if possible.
Right.
Minister, just one question from me. You mentioned the Caribbean market being important, but interregional travel remains either too expensive or too infrequent, or having to go through the U.S. to get to a neighboring Caribbean country. Is the ministry doing anything to directly tackle that as it relates to collaboration with the other Caribbean countries? Is regional tourism important to you this year?
Yes, regional tourism, thank you for asking the question, Chris. So regional tourism is very important. If you, based on my open remarks, I made the point that we are only 60% recovered, and it accounts for a significant number of arrivals into Barbados. I believe before the pandemic, we were upwards about 500,000 or so. Now, what we're working on is that we have a number of regional carriers who are interested in expanding operations out of Barbados. And we are working, I'm not at liberty to disclose their identities, but what I can tell you is that we are in the process of reviewing applications for additional aircraft into Barbados. The Permanent Secretary is also very much leading that initiative for us to drive that additional airlift via region into Barbados. So we are going to be in a better place to make an announcement very shortly. I can't go into details, please forgive me. But the other significant thing that the PS indicated is the build-out of the Civil Aviation Authority. And that building out of the Civil Aviation Authority will also speed up processes in order for us to attract even greater carriers. We also have not only regional players who are interested in offering the service, but we also have expressions from some other what we will call legacy carriers who are interested as well in getting in there and helping to fill the void. Obviously, as a government, we have to take a very strategic approach to it, but we are confident that with the expansion of some services, the acquisition of new aircraft by some of the persons we are talking to, I think within a few months, we'll be in a better position to make some firm announcements with respect to increase airlift from within the region. All right, well, let me take this opportunity I should defer to Airport, no? Let me take this opportunity to thank you very much, to say thank you very much for attending this media briefing. As I indicated in my introduction, as I've done in my previous ministries, what I will do is that from time to time you will be provided with comprehensive updates with respect to the sector. There are some individual announcements that we are going to make, and we will be making them shortly through the BTMI. As you will realize from the composition of the head table and online with the chair, I take very seriously the concept of a team, and therefore I believe that core members of the team responsible for future in terms of tourism and aviation and cruise should always be present and be allowed to speak, and that will continue. But I take this opportunity once again to wish all of you a Happy New Year and safe travels. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.